It's hard to think that Classic WoW has been out almost 4 years at this point. That's a hell of a long time to still not have Thunder Fury. Since then, we've had the Burning Crusade, Wrath, Season of Mastery, and hell, I wouldn't be surprised if we have Classic Cataclysm announced by the end of the year, which is pretty nuts to be honest. But what's more interesting to me is the current state of Vanilla era WoW, which is currently going through what I can only describe as a complete resurrection. I have not seen the Vanilla Classic servers this busy since Classic WoW launched back in 2019. It's insane, and if you're one of those people sitting on the fence and thinking about jumping back into Vanilla on a fresh character, or starting the game for the very first time, then this is the video for you. Why? Because I have done just that. Some time ago, I created a brand new character on a Vanilla era server I'd never played on before. It was a completely fresh start for me, and since then, over the last few weeks, I have been leveling, running dungeons, being mind controlled down chimneys, and generally having a fucking great time, to be honest with you. From that experience, I can absolutely confirm that Vanilla era Classic WoW is booming right now. There are new players everywhere, running dungeons is a super smooth experience, and forming groups takes only a few minutes most of the time. I've just finished questing through Duskwood, and completing the many elite quests was easy because of how many other players were adventuring alongside me, ready and eager to talk, group up, and get the job done. Obviously, I can't speak for the American servers because I play on EU, but I've heard that it's the same over there, with a massive surge in new and returning players to the vanilla game. The question here though is, why? Why is this happening in the first place? After all, Vanilla WoW hasn't had any new content since the original Classic release, if you don't count the Season of Mastery, which was a bit, you know. So why are people returning to play the game now? Honestly, I think it comes down to the nature of Vanilla as a game, and what differentiates it from Wrath Classic and Retail WoW, which I think is where many players are coming from right now. This could be summarised pretty simply as, the journey is the destination. Now, we've all heard the meaningful journey shit when it comes to Vanilla, but honestly it's pretty accurate. World of Warcraft has never been a sandbox game, but Vanilla WoW is far closer to a sandbox than any subsequent version of the game. Leveling takes time, it fosters a bond between player and character. New spells and improvements in gear, as well as simple things like making the most of professions while you level, and using the auction house to build up the money for spells and mounts. All of these things make that journey to max level feel like much more of an adventure in its own right than in any other version of WoW. You don't log in just to get to level 60, you log in because you want to play your character, regardless of what its current level is. This feeling of adventure is only strengthened by the game's approach to cooperation and interaction between players. There was a common misconception which was heavily ridiculed before the release of Classic WoW that Vanilla was really hard, something which people quickly realised is not accurate. Mechanically speaking, Vanilla WoW is far simpler than any subsequent version of the game. What people really meant was that Vanilla is far less forgiving than modern WoW, far less solo friendly, and that everything takes more time. What this means for players is that working together is the best way to deal with many challenges presented by the game. You talk to people, you accomplish things together that due to the nature of the game would have been extremely difficult or impossible for you to achieve on your own, which makes the feeling of jolly cooperation all the more powerful. This is how bonds in games are made. This is how friendships are made. The reality is that I've added more new people to my friends list in the 2 weeks of playing Vanilla WoW than they have in 2 years of playing retail. And I'm much more likely to keep adding people to the friends list considering that they crop up again and again out in the world because the servers aren't mashed together in a cross-realm system where you never see someone more than once. Okay, so we've gone over the meaningful journey and the focus on cooperation with other players. These things are essential, but I think there's more to it than that which makes Vanilla so popular. I think that a big part of what draws people back to the Vanilla game is the simple, honest fantasy of the game. You play as a nobody, setting forth on an adventure to become a somebody in a world filled with fantasy races, tons of varied locations, and all manner of stories to explore. You don't have a single megamind plot being forced down your throat at all times, nor do you have to constantly adjust your expectations to the changing focus of the game's story and characters. All of this, in my opinion, serves to make the world feel much more realistic. It feels like a virtual world and your character is just one of many people in it finding their place in that world. And speaking of the world, it's just immense. You're not packed into a few small zones or a hub city all the time, but instead you're left to travel across vast distances, which only adds to that feeling of being in an actual virtual world rather than a condensed game level. I could go on, but to put it simply, people are coming back to vanilla WoW now because the game is timeless in a way that the other versions of WoW just aren't. You don't need a directed path of content or a new patch to consume for the game to be worth your time. In my opinion, it's one of the best games ever made, and it has aged better than any other game I can think of. In contrast to retail and the later stages of Wrath, vanilla offers a more sandbox experience which I think appeals to a large portion of the community who just want to explore and create their own adventures rather than being forced to play the game in a certain fixed way to be doing it the right way. In vanilla, the right way is whatever you want it to be as long as you're having fun. Something which, in my opinion at least, got lost somewhere along the way to modern WoW. I wanted to make this video because to me, the more people who come back to vanilla or get into it for the first time, the better. In an ideal world, I would love for this surge of interest to result in Blizzard finally seriously looking at the prospects of additional content for vanilla WoW in the spirit of the original game. But even if it just means that we all get to experience true classic WoW together once more and revel in the magnificence of the game, then that's enough for me, and I hope you'll join me for the ride. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, I've linked a playlist to the whole fresh vanilla adventure for you. How convenient, right? I am a generous soul, aren't I? If you like the vibe of the channel, then I'd encourage you to subscribe, and if you don't, then you should probably run away as fast as you can, eh? Until the next episode guys, be well and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.